So what are the best practices for making sure that your probate case, your family will, your inheritance is protected? If you have a person in your family who's recently become deceased, or they've been put into long-term care or in hospice or some other type of um, end-of-life planning, you want to make sure that the wishes of that person are carried out. You've heard the phrase last will and testament. The will is a document that a person creates and signs that says what's going to happen to their stuff in their life after they leave, after they die. And usually it's, the house goes to this person and my bank accounts go here, my car goes here, whatever it is. The word will, is more than just a piece of paper. It means what they want to have happen. The will is a verb. It's what they want to be in existence after they die. It's more than a piece of paper. So you want to make sure that that is carried out properly. The reason that we say that is because many times when a person dies or when they're put into conservatorship or some other type of status, people in their family will try to do things that are not necessarily correct. Here's what happens. People in younger generations now are facing higher financial challenges than ever before. Millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, all these newer generations are looking at the boomers and saying, you know what, they had it good. They had money. They had job security. They were homeowners. It's tougher for us. So when they see these generations starting to pass down their assets, it's like a free-for-all. It's like a scramble. They want to get more than their fair share. So within a family, you may have one of the siblings, one of the brothers or sisters say, you know what, I want to take a little more than I'm supposed to. And the way they do it is they divert assets. They start cleaning out bank accounts. They start quit claiming property deeds. They start taking vehicles. Or the executor of the estate, if a person dies, might put money where it's not supposed to go. How do you prevent that from happening? Well, the first thing to do is, as a person in your family gets older, start to identify the assets early on, as early as you can. What is the real estate holdings? What are the vehicle holdings? What are the bank accounts? What are the insurance policies? You can research all this. You can get some information on our website how to do this. We also have consultation. If you'd like to consult live one-on-one with a licensed private investigator, you can arrange that through our website. And you identify and document these assets early on. That way, not to be morbid, when a person dies, you already know in advance what the assets are supposed to be. And if they look differently afterwards, you want to... Your video will be back in 8 seconds. In the meantime, remember, you have access to live one-on-one consultation, undivided attention of a licensed certified expert in this subject and many others. We want to listen to your story. We want to hear your questions and give you expert advisement of your options. We want to tell you what we know about your situation and what options you have. Now back to your video. Find out, well, where did this property go? Where did this vehicle go? How come this bank account has less money in it? If you didn't know in advance, you wouldn't know that. Now, after a person dies, there's ways you can backtrace assets to see what they were before, but that's a more difficult process. Then what you want to do is, when property or an estate is being distributed, you want to get regular updates on what's happening. Whoever is in charge of that, the executor of the estate or the attorney, whoever it is, you want to get regular, at least monthly, updates on the status of the assets, how they're being distributed, how they're being allocated, and to make sure it's done properly. You also want to run asset searches during that time to make sure that there's no new assets or assets disappearing. You also want to make sure that whoever's doing it, if it's an attorney or an executor, you get a surety bond for that person, and that person should be bonded. Surety bond may only cost you a few $100s, but it ensures if that person is doing something that's improper, either on purpose or accidentally, there's a surety bond that fixes that problem. You want to make sure that that's done properly. Ideally, the executor of the estate is not somebody who is a family member or who benefits from the estate, Because if the executor is part of who gets money, they might say, well, I'm going to give myself a little more. If it's an unrelated third party, they're not going to really care who gets the money. They're going to do it according to the will. Remember, that will was the last, literally the last will, the last thing that person wanted to have happen. And if you allow things to occur which are not part of what their wishes were, you're kind of dishonoring their memory. You're dishonoring what they wanted. If you decide somebody in your family should get more than what the will said, that's fine. You can adjust that accordingly. You can let it go the way it was supposed to, and then you can give away money of your own to them if you so desire. But just make sure that nobody's going behind your back and stealing from your estate, because if they are, that's somebody you probably want to know about too in your family, because you're going to see them on family reunions. You might go on vacations with them. They might babysit your kids. If they're a thief, you want to know in advance, so that way you know what you're dealing with within your own family. Probate fraud is the largest, fastest growing area of fraud that we see. We get more inquiries about that than anything else. So it's not uncommon. You might think that your family would never do that, but it happens all the time. Be aware that the detection of this is relatively easy. You just have to know where to look, and you have to put some diligent effort into making sure that the assets are not diminished or diluted in a way that they weren't supposed to. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can access live one-on-one personal consultations with a licensed private investigator, a licensed commercial insurance broker, licensed certified real estate title examiner, also a certified civil court mediator. So if you have a need to talk to an expert in any of these fields, or even a licensed building general contractor, you can click the link below, actualhuman.com, and arrange a live one-on-one undivided attention with a licensed expert where you can ask any questions, get information about your situation, and we'd be glad to help.